Okay, Mukesh Patel back with you. Let's now do a deep dive into the business model canvas. The one I prefer, it can be uh, obtained at the website link listed, strategizer.com. The reason I like this particular version, although you can use any version, is that it actually shows you the sequence and how to think about the steps for the business model canvas. So here it is. It's 9 boxes. It should fit on one page, and it really is like your navigation, um, or you can call it your game plan, your blueprint, your playbook, and your entire business plan and strategy can develop from this core business model. The business model should be scalable. We'll talk about that in a future module, but let's look at the elements. The first most important one is the one in the center called value proposition. So which one or more of your customers' problems are you helping to solve? What customer needs are you satisfying? What jobs are you helping them achieve or do better? What is the specific product or service? You need to define it concisely, accurately, and briefly so that it's one sentence. What are the key features that match the customer needs? Just maybe the top 3 features. And then you move on to the second element, which is customer segmentation. Who precisely are you solving the problem for or fulfilling the need? Remember, we talked about unmet need is the key. Who are your customers? Can you define your customers clearly? If we say that our solution is for everyone, it's unlikely that we'll be able to get market penetration and traction and scale because it'll be too generic. Customers won't be able to find us. We really need to start niche and go deep for market domination in a niche segment. Then we can expand. So we want to think about the demographics of the customers, age, gender, location, geography. It could be zip codes, it could be income level, wealth level, family size, roles like are they parents, do they have children, what age, if they work, where do they work, what kind of roles or titles, experience level, and then even psychographics, things like what are their interests, hobbies, how do they spend their time, what drives their consumer behavior, things like that. We then want to look at whether the value proposition meets or matches their unmet need. Something else worth thinking about is it a single-sided or a multi-sided market? So a single-sided market is a simple one. You have a solution, you have customers, no one else in between. You don't need to worry about lots of different types of stakeholders. A double-sided market would be one where you need to develop 2 sides of a market and bring them together as a link to make magic happen. For example, let's take Uber as an example. To develop Uber, you need both owners of vehicles that become drivers to provide the service, and the other side of the market, you need individual consumers that need a ride. And if you can develop both and bring them together, then you have this double-sided market. There could even be a triple-sided market. The more sides there are, the more complicated it is. So try to keep things simple, at least initially. Triple-sided market would be one where you sell to businesses, a B2B2C, and the business then sells to other businesses or sells to consumers. And so ultimately the consumers will be the users of your product or solution, but you need to satisfy that intermediary side, which are corporations or businesses. If you're a direct to consumer, single-sided model, it would be D2C, direct to consumer or B2C, business to consumer. So it's worthwhile thinking through that. Once you have box number 1 and box number 2 set up, then quickly we'll go to 3, which is channels of distribution. This is a critical element and sometimes makes it easier to get to market, go to market, and scale, because it's hard to find the direct consumers and develop that ecosystem. But if someone already has those consumers or customers and we can ally with them, create alliances or strategic partnerships, joint ventures perhaps, then that becomes a channel of distribution. So thinking through what channels our customer segments want to be reached is critical, not just what channels we think they want to be reached, kind of validating from them. And then the fourth element, customer relationships. So not just how will we obtain customers, but how will we retain them and then eventually grow our business with them, through them. That is key, because think of a bucket. We could be pouring water in the bucket, but if there's holes at the bottom and the water is leaking, we're not making a lot of traction. So it's critical to figure out if there's a churn or attrition of customers. Why are they leaving? How do we get them back? How do we retain them? Keep them happy for a long term rather than short term. Then we move to the left side of the canvas. Let's look at box number 5. What are the key activities that are required for our value propositions to be delivered? 6 talks about what are key resources, suppliers, vendors, alliances, or strategic partners that our value propositions require. And once we've identified key activities and key resources, we can then focus on number 7, which are who are the key partners that can provide us the key resources for the key activities that we need and have. If we identify the key partners, it makes our job easier to continue to grow and scale and access the customer segments through the channels that they want and maintain the customer relationships for long term. Box 8 is about revenue streams. So what's our revenue model? How will we make money? What's our pricing model or tactic? What elements or values are our customers willing to pay? And we have to look at the price elasticity of those customers as well. And the last element, number 9, is our cost structure. What are the most important costs? So when we do the financial model, we'll go through this in detail, both on the revenue and cost side. But just at a high level, what are our revenue channels or streams? What's our revenue and pricing model? What are our cost structures? Not so much detail, but just high level categorically. And then this allows us on one page to clearly define, design, and see what our business model is and whether it's scalable or not. So we looked at the 9 elements, but the 4 key elements out of those 9 are value proposition, which is the what, customer segments, the who, the channels or value chain, the how. So think about it as channels, partners, resource capabilities and competencies, and then profit mechanism or pricing model, revenue model. Is it commercially viable? Do we deliver enough value to the stakeholders? And can we make money? And how can we make a lot of money? The 4 key steps in the framework are initiation, so coming up with the key elements, ideation, debating it with our co-founders or teammates or advisors, mentors, and then letting the best ideas move up and prioritizing those strong ideas and deprioritizing weak ideas or secondary ideas. Keeping it simple, integration is integrating the key ideas into the business model, and implementation is execution. Remember, it's not about the ideas, it's making ideas happen. This is a simple development model or framework. Let's just quickly go through it. Top left box is purpose. Do we have a clear purpose? Unmet need has been identified. Is it a pain or is it a gain? If it's just a simple gain, like pleasure, think of it as that's maybe a vitamin. Better than a vitamin is a painkiller that actually solves and alleviates a pain or solves an unmet need. So that's what we want. We want the need to be so strong, it's like hair on fire. People need our product or solution. And if we take it away from them, they will be mad and will hunt us down because they need what we have. Think about people like customer segments, the archetype or the persona of the customer. We'll go do a deeper dive into that in a moment. Think about experience design. So is it product experience? Is it a service experience? How are we defining CX, customer experience? And the experience on the entire spectrum, from the customer being aware of our solution to how they engage with us or find us, the entry point, then the engagement, the follow through, and then even the exit and post exit. How do they think about us through that process? Sometimes what they think or say may not be how they feel. And so we need to identify all of those elements. From a development lens, we want to create a proof of concept or a minimum viable product. We do that through a combination of prototypes and pilots. And here's where we start thinking about minimal features to execute on the functions of the solution. The next lens is customer validation and revalidation. So this is not a do it once and you're done. This is a continuous process through the life cycle of the company or the product development cycle. So we do stakeholder discovery, sometimes called customer discovery, where we interview anywhere from 25 to 100 or more potential customer prospects to understand the problem, the pain point, and what solutions they are currently using or have used in the past. What do they love or not love about them? And where is there a gap or what's missing? This is an iterative feedback loop. So we do this multiple times with multiple types of customers. It could be also other stakeholders like vendors, domain experts, advisors, and getting, or even prospective investors, getting that feedback loop so we can iterate on developing the right product that can delight the customers and something they really want and need. And then in terms of a decision matrix, every feature should be put through this kind of matrix. Do we retain that feature, persevere with it because it's working, it's required, it's a key element? Do we pivot and redesign that feature based on feedback loop or loops? And then do we reject a feature, basically perish? So every element of our solution will either be killed and perish, be modified or adapted, in other words, pivoted, or will continue and persevere. That's how we retain, redesign, and reject the design elements of our product. So let's take a look at a few things here. One is the goal for a value proposition. The goal is to build a series of MVPs. For customer segments, the goal is to define your persona, your target market, your archetype really clearly in detail. For the MVP, the goal is to design the smallest set of features that delivers the most and fastest learning to validate our hypotheses. And product market fit ultimately is where we pivot our business model or MVP until we have validated product market fit, or TPM, technology product market fit, where now there are customers, they're growing, They're spreading word of mouth, and we're pretty happy because business is booming. Only after achieving product market fit should we try to raise Series A capital. We'll talk about Series A and all the different various series when we talk about financial capital a little bit later. That will allow us to scale. The next module will be on validating our hypotheses of our business model, and we do that through stakeholder discovery or customer discovery, sometimes known as VOC, the voice of the customer. See you soon.